Shana Tova, a good and sweet year to all, a year of blessings and health to all. I spoke these words a year ago as I speak them every year. I did not imagine at that time that my prayer, our prayers, would be in vain and on such a global scale. This year we've undergone a global collapse of our economies and our ways of life. We have watched governments act cautiously or callously on behalf of their populations. We have been avalanched by miserable acts of selfishness and heroic and sometimes tragic acts of selflessness. And we have suffered massive loss of life. We are fortunate enough here to be marking this Rosh Hashanah. We are the fortunate ones. And yet we are all bound up, almost literally bound and gagged with new fears and concerns. Our sadness, discomfort, anxiety, our exhaustion from carrying these feelings, and the necessary adjustments we make for them are like nothing we have experienced ever before. We are constrained by unseen forces and unresolved choices. So on this Rosh Hashanah, we cannot be physically gathered together, neither as a congregation, nor as family and friends, in the manner and degree that have always given this holiday much of its special character. We've been missing each other's presence, each other's company, for too long. And that loss is felt even more acutely at this time of ingathering. Thankfully, so much struggle and immense time, effort, and creativity has been invested in developing ways to overcome this loss. Tremendous work has been done by our administrator, Lisa Zelenitz, her assistant, Marita Falconer, our custodian, Carlos Alegre. Daunting challenges have been met with great skill and wisdom by our educators, Director Heather Brown and Assistant Director Ayla Winter. Our rabbinic intern, Lily Lucy, joins with them and has also heroically and thoughtfully assumed the gigantic burden of coordinating our wonderful holiday programming this year. The volunteers of Shomrei have been astounding, including our past president, Sarah Ann Erickson, our new president, Miriam Hames, and all the members of our Moving Forward Committee and our board. None imagined the responsibilities and tasks that would confront them, and they have devoted themselves full-time to meeting this challenge. In addition, so many Shomrei members and friends have helped in countless ways to hold our community together and to contribute to enhancing our High Holy Day experience. I have been witness to and participant in this project, and I rejoice in expressing my overwhelming gratitude to everyone and my deep appreciation for everything they have done, are doing, and are committed to continuing to do. Yet, if I can hope to contribute in these holiday talks to all the achievements that have helped us reach this moment, it is, I think, by insisting that our challenges are still largely unmet, our tasks are still largely undefined, and as yet to be accomplished. This is because the dimensions of our present crisis extend far beyond the absolutely important and urgent questions of when will we be able to once more hang out together, pray together, eat together, study together, cry, and laugh together. Naturally, we should seek answers to those questions, but we can choose to contemplate these questions in a broader and deeper way, so as to open the door to contemplating the many other issues that we must confront. Yes, we have a choice. When we concentrate on our problem of the lack of physical contact, proximity, and interaction with others, and when we sorely feel the painful personal inconvenience and deprivation, we can try to solve that problem in ways that will either mitigate or obviate that problem. And it is good to work on these solutions. But if we saw that we can do more than that, then what? We can choose to not only overcome the problem of absence for ourselves, but also to listen to what this problem is trying to tell us, to feel the underlying roots of this problem. For if we can feel for those roots, we will come to feel anew, despite the amazing gifts of technology, how simply and irreplaceably human we are personally, and moreover, how precious is the humanness of other human beings. But really, you may be thinking, isn't this just a banal cliche? So let's talk about cliches. We call something a cliche in two ways. Either we mean that it is an oversimplification that does not really tell the whole truth, or it is an unnecessary repetition of a truth that we know already. What makes something a cliche is that whatever its original small moment of truth, that moment is past. Whatever illumination that cliche once offered has faded away and is no longer visible. What redeems a cliche, then, is when it all of a sudden, at a particular moment, hits home again as being true. What we were so comfortable dismissing or taking for granted suddenly speaks to us again. Cliches are sleeping repositories of slivers of truth. So they allow us to acknowledge some truths without having to take them too seriously. Such a cliche is the precious humanness of all human beings. We have been so happy to roll our eyes if we hear anyone sincerely spouting such platitudes. But such a reaction is actually an abject effort at defending ourselves from the commanding call of that simple proposition. Like a sleeping beauty, the cliche of human preciousness has been awaiting its moment of awakening. But this will not be accomplished by a princely kiss. Our slumbering consciousness has been too deeply drugged by apathy, privilege, and pseudo-sophistication. Yet, perhaps the specter of death, created by the confluence of this pandemic with this season of the days of awe, can be that particular moment that can bring this cliche back to life and redeem it. For our own redemption depends on it. Before we wave away the cliche of human preciousness, let's recognize our present moment. What we have learned from this pandemic is just how far we have gone toward denying, degrading, devaluing, and destroying the preciousness of the human being. It is precisely during this pandemic, a crisis that theoretically threatens everyone, that we have begun to discern that in reality, the viral effects do indeed fall on some people more heavily and tragically than on others. The toll of sickness, pain, dislocation, and death is borne disproportionately among poor people, people of color, people without adequate health coverage, and without social connections. And this is not because of features of the virus or because of life choices of the sufferers. It is because of our choices as a society over generations year after year. So what about this new year? When we wish each other a Shana Tova, a good year, a year in which we are inscribed for health, peace, and life, how shall we mean it? We have been missing each other's company. Let's not miss the deeper meaning of what that feeling signifies. The preciousness of each and every human being. Shall we continue to dismiss it as a pious cliché? Or shall we, with courage and wisdom, change our paths as individuals and as a society, so that the preciousness of the human being guides our actions and policies, our thoughts and choices? I close with a prayer created by the Ursuline Sisters of Louisville, Kentucky, a prayer I have shared with Shomrei in print and during our sharing Shabbat moments. May we who are inconvenienced remember those whose lives are at stake. May we who have no risk factors remember those most vulnerable. May we who have the luxury of working from home remember those who must choose between preserving their health or making their rent. May we who have the flexibility to care for our children when their schools close remember those who have no options. May we who have to cancel our trips remember those who have no safe place to go. May we who are losing our margin money in the tumult of the economic market remember those who have no margin at all. May we who settle in for the quarantine at home remember those who have no home. As fear grips our country, let us choose love. During this time when we cannot physically wrap our arms around each other, let us yet find ways to be the loving embrace of God to our neighbor. Amen. Shana Tova. A good year.